Murder in the Mafia. You can see it everywhere. It's talked about all the time on YouTube. People brag about it, use it as a badge of courage. We see it in the movies. People are fascinated by it. We talk about Roy DeMeo, Greg Scarpa, Murder Incorporated. Everybody wants to hear about murder. I want to tell you this. Murder is ugly. It's horrible. And it wasn't the main course of action in that life. People have said to me, Michael, you're not a real gangster because you weren't a murderer. My response is, thank you very much. I take that as a compliment. Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is good on this end, praise God. Very thankful for that. Today I have a rather disturbing subject that I want to talk about, but I need to address it. Why do I need to address it? Because I have so many loyal followers, subscribers, not only here on YouTube, but on other social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And the subject of murder comes up quite a bit, murder in the Mafia. And there are a lot of people, on YouTube that are kind of talking about it, touting it, people that are coming on board lately, talking about murder. And for some reason, I think a lot of you out there look at murder as kind of a red badge of courage for guys in the mob. Like, you got to be a murderer. Like, this is something to be proud of. This is something you should wear on your sleeve. This is what you want to be known for. Well, I got to tell you, I don't see it that way. I don't feel that at all. I don't like the topic of murder. I don't like to be engaged in murder. I don't like to talk about it, and I certainly don't like to commit it. And I think anybody that has any kind of sanity should feel the same way. Murder is a horrible thing, no doubt. It's not something that anybody should be proud of. You know what? Let me make an exception to that. Maybe our military, who are trained to fight, to kill the enemy in defense of their loved ones, in defense of their country, that's different. They're fighting in defense of a great cause. And I respect and honor the military, and I want to make that very, very clear. And these people in the military are trained to kill. I saw someplace on YouTube that someone said that the Mafia teaches you to kill with no remorse. I didn't have that experience. Nobody taught me to kill with no remorse, and I was a made guy. I took that oath. And I'll tell you this too, this is hard to admit to, but when I took that oath, I agreed to carry out any order that was given to me. And I meant it. And you know what? Unfortunately, murder, killing is part of that life. It's an ugly part of that life. And most everybody I know in that life that I really respected felt the same way. Nobody wanted to be a killer. Nobody wanted to go out and be a murderer. Murder in that life was taken very, very seriously, at least in my family and with my dad and in my experience in my 25 years on the street in that life. It was taken very seriously. It was not the first course of action. It was always the last course of action. It was always discussed. It had to be approved, at least in our family, by the boss. Nobody else. There was no random murderers. We weren't out there killing people. And to my knowledge, most of the people around me during that time, even the bosses, this is not something that they enjoyed. And there are people, like I said, out there that are talking about this like, like it's just a subject you talk about. Well, I want to clarify that right now, and I want to clarify a couple other things. Look. A lot of you know I have this sit-down coming up with Sammy, and it is coming. And there's a lot of work put into it, so just be patient. It's going to be out there. Patrick Bet-David is handling it. You know all about it. I know he said, well, you mentioned it, and it hasn't come out yet. It's coming. Trust me. It's an unscripted sit-down between two guys that were in that life for a lengthy period of time. And two of us, we agree on some things, and we boldly disagree on other things with respect to that life. You know, Sammy said, you know, at one point in time, and I understand his feelings, you know, I respect what he has to say, that maybe I slid into that because I was my father's son, and there were other people that were waiting 20, 25 years because the books had been closed from the 50s to the 70s, and they were there and they earned a spot, and I went in before them. Well, that's his perspective. I respect his feelings on that. But my response to that is this. When you're recruiting people into that life, you want to recruit quality people. You want to recruit people that are going to carry out orders, yes, that are going to be a benefit to the family. Well, let me tell you this. My father, Sonny Franzese, is one, without a doubt, of the most respected guys ever to have taken that oath. My dad got a 50-year sentence for a crime that he didn't do. He kept his mouth shut. He did 40 on the 50. He never told on anybody. Could have got out of jail. Now, some people may say, you know what? He wasn't a great father and a husband because he sacrificed his family. He had 5 parole violations. He didn't care much about them, but he did care about taking care of his oath. Well, you know what? That's my dad. But as far as his position in that life, there aren't too many people that are more respected than him. So if my father, who gained all of that respect, who was a student of that life, who did whatever he was told to do, who worked his way up through the ranks, said, my son is the kind of person that we want in this life, the same way Carmine Persico said his son, Allie Boy, and his son, Michael, were people that he wanted in this life, the same way that Joe Colombo said that his son, Anthony, and Joe Jr. were people that he wanted in his life, the same way Carlo Gambino, and these are all very respected guys who earned their position, said that my son, my nephews, whatever, we want them in this life. Well, why shouldn't that be a pathway into that life? These are people that did the work, that know that they're introducing quality people in that life, and that's it. Now, my father didn't say to me, you know, you have to be efficient as a murderer because you're going to go out and be told to murder people every day. That's not the case. My father didn't teach me how not to have remorse if I ever had to pull the trigger on somebody. There was no training for that. My dad asked me, when he proposed me, or was ready to propose me, he asked me one simple question. He said, Michael, if you ever had to kill somebody, could you do it? And you know what? I thought about it for a minute. And I said, Dad, if the circumstances were right, yes, I believe I could do it. That was my answer. That was it. He didn't say, okay, well, you got to go into training now on how to be a murderer. No. And I want to tell you this, throughout my 25 years in that life, unfortunately, I saw a lot of people that I cared for that were killed, were gone. I didn't like it. I felt remorse about it. I wasn't happy about it. So that life didn't teach me how to be a murderer. And let me tell you something, in that life, you don't have to have training. You have to have knowledge. If you're given an order and a contract is put in on somebody's life, you have to know how to carry it out. You're not going to be a marksman or a sharpshooter. You got to know how to set somebody up, how to plan it, and how to put a bullet in the back of his head. Doesn't take a lot of training. And maybe people that do that, maybe they're, I don't know, somewhat I don't know what the answer is. I'm not saying it's normal to be able to do that. Please understand that. And it is an ugly part of that life. I want to make this very clear. I don't wear it as a badge of courage. I'm not even admitting that I ever did it, but I'm just saying it's not a badge of courage to me. It's the most ugly part of that life. And you know, people in that life, supposedly, that only happens to you. You only, suffer those consequences if you break one of the rules. Well, that's not true all the time. Like anything else, that life gets corrupted in ways, and I saw people die for the wrong reasons. They shouldn't have died, in my opinion. That's just the way it goes. So I want to make this clear. For those of you that say, well, you know what? If you weren't a Roy DeMeo, if you weren't a Greg Scarpa, you weren't really a gangster. Well, I say great, because if that doesn't qualify me to be a gangster, then I'm not a gangster. I don't want to be. I don't want to be known as that. I want to make that very, very clear. To me, it's not something to be proud of. Roy DeMeo was psychotic. Greg Scarpa, psychotic. So if they earned their way by committing all the murders they allegedly killed, what could I say? Is that something to be proud of? Would any of you out there be proud of that? Would any of you out there be a better gangster because you're a Roy DeMeo or a Greg Scarpa than a Carlo Gambino, than a Sonny Franzese, than a Joe Colombo? Does that qualify them? And by the way, how did their life end up? Roy DeMeo was murdered. Greg Scarpa, you know the story with him. 20 years or 25 plus years, allegedly an informant. I don't think it's allegedly. We know it's true. Died of AIDS. He didn't have a good life. I knew Greg pretty well. I'm telling you. It wasn't something to be proud of. So why am I saying this? You know, for a lot of reasons. Again, because I get so much feedback and people are saying, well, you know, Michael, you weren't a true gangster because this person killed people, this person talks about this person talks about that. Okay. Hey, if that qualifies them as being a real gangster, great. You know what I like to feel? I like to feel that I was a contributor to the family. They brought me in with the hopes of my being a benefit to the family, and I think in many ways I was. I was a good earner. I had a lot of good relationships in that life. A lot of people around me made money. And you know what? Without money, I don't care how many people you think you can kill and wear that badge of courage, that life ain't going anywhere. It's like anything else. It's like I've said in other videos, prohibition is what made Cosa Nostra the Mafia in this country because that's what brought the money in. Without money, you do not have an organization. Remember that. I don't care how many people you kill, how many people you beat up, how many people you baseball bat. None of that matters. And I will tell you this, you know what? My dad taught me something. He said, Mike, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Meaning, in that life, if you're diplomatic, if you know how to get around people, if you know how to make them like you, if you know how to make them want to be in business with you, if you know how to make yourself attractive to them, you get a lot further than if you're putting a gun at the back of their head or in their mouth. Trust me on that. I don't want to say I prided myself on it, but my method of operation was to do exactly that, was to succeed by using what that life had to offer me to succeed in business. And I knew how to do that. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't want to kill people. It was uncomfortable for me. Now again, whenever I was given an order to do anything in that life by my superior, I did it. That's all I'm going to say with respect to that. But I like to think that I lived that life the right way while I was in that life. Now let me make this clear, okay, because there are a lot of comments on this also. I betrayed my oath. When I took an oath of omerta, I agreed not to talk about the life. I betrayed my oath. There's no doubt about it. I believe I did it for the right reasons. No question. And I did speak to the government. We know that. It's not a secret. I haven't denied it. But my goal always was never to cause anybody any trouble, never to put anybody in prison. And that was for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I liked almost everybody I was involved with. I didn't want to hurt them. I want to put them in prison. When I walked away from the life, I wasn't mad at anybody. I just wanted out of the life because I knew it was in trouble. It was obvious. And I didn't want to put my family through what I saw my father put his family, my family, through. It was ugly. It was horrible. My family was destroyed as a result of my dad's imprisonment and participation in that life. And I didn't want to do that to my family. So yes, I violated my oath of omerta. And I will say this again, and I don't care who wants to bring, because a lot of talk goes out there. Nobody went to prison as a result of anything Michael Franzese said to the government. And I'll stand upon that, and I challenge anybody to bring anything that's credible, any credible information, documentation, anything credible to show anything different, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because I made it a point. The reason I was able to patch up my relationship with my dad was for that very reason. Because he knew. Persico knew I didn't put anybody in trouble. I could have hurt a lot of people. I chose not to. I did my 8 years in prison. My plea agreement did not involve cooperation. It's a matter of record. You can look it up. Got a 10-year prison sentence, $15 million in restitution, and all I got as part of the agreement, which anybody would get, is that they could not prosecute me for any crimes known or unknown prior to the day I took the plea, except for murder and perjury. Those were the two exceptions. I do not have immunity for anything else at this point in time in my life, and I didn't have it for anything at the time I took the plea agreement other than what I just mentioned. So, I'm not getting off track. I'm answering comments from people that have been loyal to me. So many comments on all social media platforms about murder, what it means. Michael, people are saying different things. You need to respond to this. I want to make this clear too. There's a lot of chatter going on different platforms in the internet. I get it. Look, everybody tries to make a living. A lot of people find the platform attractive. Maybe they can, hey, God bless them. Let them do whatever the heck they want. They're talking about a lot of people. I am telling you that I will not make a name by bad-mouthing other people. I just won't do it. It's not who I am. I don't find it attractive. I don't want to do it. So people take shots, let them take it. You know, the truth always comes out in the wash. Sooner or later, it comes out. So it is what it is in that regard. So I want to make that clear. So let's get back one more time to the subject of hand, and I want to be clear about this. Murder is not something attractive in Cosa Nostra or the Mafia. Unfortunately, it is a weapon and a tool. In my experience, throughout my time on the street, it was used as a last resort. It wasn't something to be proud of. If you were capable of doing it, okay, we were all capable of doing something like that. We all agreed, I should say, in the oath that we took, to obey orders when we were given. But it's not something that we should wear as a badge of courage. It's not something that we carry around as a matter of pride. I don't. I want to make this clear. I think murder is ugly. I think it's horrible. I don't like talking about it. I don't have respect for anybody that wears it as a badge of courage, and I've said this so many times in this video. I just don't. I don't think it's something to be proud of. It's an unfortunate part of that life, and it's an unfortunate part of life, period. So I want to make that very clear. So that's it for today. I welcome your comments. I welcome your feedback, whether pro or against anything that I have to say. I welcome that. You know, you have a right to state your opinions. I only wish that it's done respectfully. You know, a lot of people make comments on the internet where they haven't done their homework. They're uninformed. They've read newspaper reports. They hear other people. They take it as gospel. There's so much misinformation. I will tell you this, you know, the internet sometimes, or social media, I should say, it could really be just a pit of just ugliness. And at other times, it could be a great tool. So hopefully those of you that watch all of these videos, you view it in the right way. You don't take everything as gospel. You take some things with a grain of salt. You know, if something troubles you, research it. Make sure what you're hearing is correct. You know, I think that's the best way to operate in something like this. You know what you're talking about when you make a comment. It's helpful. Listen, I want to tell you this. There's some people that tell great stories out there. Sammy Gravano's a great storyteller. I got to tell you this. He really is. So if you like these Mafia stories, if you like to hear it, go on Sammy's channel. He's a great storyteller. He really is. And he's got a lot of stories. So, you know what I mean? I'm saying something that, you know, like I said, he and I, we're going to go at it a little bit. You're going to see that, you know. As a matter of fact, got heated. I can tell you that. Listen to some of these things and take what you hear with a grain of salt. That's all I can tell you. So, that's it for today. I want to thank you. The subscribers on our site are just really building, and I appreciate all of you loyal followers and all of you people that are jumping on board. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it, and we work hard to give you good content. MichaelFranzese.com, jump on board our free community. We're having these great impact sessions where people are just, the dialogue has been so great, so informative. My inner circle, you know I love all of you. We're building, you know, rapidly every day. We're taking on more people, and we are working so hard to create content. This studio is working overtime to bring material to all of you that we know are going to be a benefit and be helpful. Lastly, I want to tell you all of this. Yes, I am a Christian. Yes, I love Jesus Christ. Now, maybe you say, well, Michael, why are you talking? You know, I got to say this before we hang up, before we leave, rather. I got to say this. I made a comment, and I made this in church, and I mean it. I said, I have no moral issue with defrauding the government out of tax money. You know, I did it big time in the gas business. I have no moral issue with that. Why? Because I think I can do better with it than they can. I think that they rob our money. They use it for other things. And you're going to see that in a mafia democracy. I'm going to point out specifically how your money is being trashed, wasted, spent for things you wouldn't want it to, how they're enriching themselves, okay, with your taxpayer money, your hard-earned money, how they're pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, and you're going to see it's going to be facts, not conjecture, facts. So yeah, I don't have a moral issue with stealing from people that are wasting money, but I won't do it. I won't do it because I'm not going to break the law. I'm not going to put myself in trouble, and I care too much about my family to go back to jail. It's not what I want to do, so I won't do it, but I don't have a moral issue with it. Somebody called me on the carpet and said, Michael, a Christian should have a moral issue with defrauding the government. Really? Why? I'm being honest. The government doesn't always do it right. They don't always pass laws that are moral. And if I disagree with it, that doesn't make me a bad Christian. Now, I just said I won't break the law, but morally I may not have an issue with some people in Congress are saying we should abide by. Think about that. Executions and murder is legal in many states. I do have a moral issue with that. I do. Because I don't believe that people should be put to death in a system that isn't always right, where you can kill innocent people. So I have a moral issue with the death penalty. Because you should never make a mistake. You don't put innocent people to death in a civil society, in a democracy, in a republic. You don't do that. And if you make one mistake, the whole system falls apart. So that's my moral issue with a law that in many states is legal. So I don't want to get into it all, but I want to make that clear. Because you disagree or don't have a moral issue with what people in Congress are telling you, that doesn't make you a bad Christian or not a true Christian. It makes you honest. That's it. Okay, so that's it for today. How do I always leave you? Be safe, be healthy, God bless you all, and I really mean that. And I will see you next time. Take care.